All right, how's it going, everybody? Go ahead and give it a couple more minutes here. Let everybody settle in. Appreciate y'all coming. Give it probably like 1 or 2 minutes here.
Sounds good.
And yeah, I really need to figure out the elevator music apps. Start streaming some music. Get 1 more minute. Hello, Nathan and Michael. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for joining today. And I believe you guys do have access to your mics today for Q&A at the end, so just kind of be mindful of that if it ends up coming off mute. Okay. Get started here in just a second. Got about 5 seconds. Michael, just so you know, your mic is unmuted there.
Yeah, just
Okay,
found that.
cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. I think we might have a couple more trickle in here in a minute, but this will be recorded and on our website. We'll send it to everybody after the fact as well. So appreciate all you guys being here today for Glean's webinar. Glean is a very robust work AI assistant tool. You know, obviously AI has become a big buzzword lately, and it always seems to come up in conversation. So we have Glean here to talk about it today. It's a great tool to help organizations manage their data, typically over about 100 users. Without talking too much, we do have Sean Mueller here with Connor Casey. Sean's going to kick us off here, and then Connor, I'm sure, will come in here at some point and share some stuff too. So, Sean?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much for the introduction, Rowdy. I will share out my screen real quick. Rowdy, if you could just give me a thumbs up when you see that, or Connor.
Yep, looking good.
All right, perfect. Hey everyone, thank you so much for the time today. As Rowdy mentioned, my name is Sean Mueller. I am an account executive for Glean, based out of beautiful McKinney, Texas. And then I have my fearless leader, Connor Casey, on the phone with us as well. Connor is in Austin. As Rowdy mentioned, right, AI is a term that none of us can get away from, something that's, you know, generally a top strategic initiative for most organizations. And so today we'll really walk through kind of, you know, where AI is today and kind of the lens through which we view the AI world. And then we'll spend a lot of our time in the platform. Glean really is a product that once you have the ability to see it, I think that's generally when kind of the light switch goes off and you can start to envision some of your particular use cases in mind. And so with that, I will go ahead and jump right into this. So, and I think Reddy also mentioned, I don't know that we necessarily have, you know, a time set up to do Q&A. If you guys have questions as we go through this, either feel free to come off of mute and ask. You can also put those into the chat. Connor will be moderating the chat channel. And so if anyone has questions, we want this to be interactive. We want it to be a good use of everybody's time. And so please feel free to let us know if there are questions. Just to kind of recap, we'll go through a little bit. Just, I think it is important to walk through kind of Glean's origin story. We'll talk through the state of the union when it comes to Gen AI. Really, our view of what work AI means and how we're tackling that problem. And then, as I mentioned, we'll spend a lot of our time in the platform itself. But really, for us, our story starts in search. So all three of our co-founders, Arvin, Vish, Tony, have incredibly deep expertise in search. Thankfully, from the consumer side, because enterprise search has historically been awful. And so they came from organizations like Google and Meta. Arvin actually really laid the foundation for how Google search works today. He went on to co-found a company called Rubrik, if you all are familiar with Rubrik. While he was scaling Rubrik, he realized that he was hiring a ton of top tier talent when it came to his software engineering, software development team, but productivity was not scaling linearly. And so went out, asked the team, what are the things that we can do to make you guys more productive? And it really came back is, hey, none of us can find the information we need to do our jobs effectively. So set out to go see what the market had in store for enterprise search. Couldn't find anything that was relevant, and so decided to pair up with a couple of his friends, couple of people that he knew in the industry, and went out and co-founded Glean together. And so we started as enterprise search, and that's really one of our true differentiators from us and anybody else on the market today. And when you look at the reason why that's important for AI, it's because you have these super powerful large language models, but none of them know anything about your organization or anything that lives behind your firewall. And so you need a way to bridge that gap between the large language models and your enterprise data. We do that through a RAG architecture. And so search is hyper critical for making sure that one, you can trust the results, and two, that they're relevant to what you're looking for. And so, kind of with, November 22 and OpenAI releases ChatGPT. Now, generative AI is, again, an initiative that everyone is trying to tackle. Luckily for us, right, that means lots of investors. We get to continue to build out and add features and functionalities into the platform. And we're working with some really amazing organizations across the globe. But AI in and of itself promises to radically transform the way that each and every one of us work, right? As you know, a lot of people are calling it the biggest thing since the Industrial Revolution in terms of how we get work done. And when we look at the landscape today, 75% of employees surveyed have said that they are already using generative AI in their day-to-day work. Right? It's helping them improve the quality of their work. It's helping them get more work done more quickly. But from an organizational perspective, right, when you look at the enterprise in and of itself, there's only about 20 to 30% of organizations that would really call themselves AI enabled, right? Have figured out how do we give AI to the masses in a way that really moves the needle, not necessarily just in, hey, we have a product team over here using AI, but really like, how do we give this to everyone within the organization in a really meaningful way? And the reason why most organizations haven't done that is because it's really, really hard to go across all of your data to make it relevant for everyone. And it's because today we live in this world of siloed information. Really, if you look at any organization, I always use ourselves as the example here. There's no single source of truth within any organization. So Salesforce for us is our opportunity management, right? CRM. And that's where theoretically most of the notes on any one opportunity should be. But it's never 100% of the context. There's going to be, some truth in Slack messages that, the sales reps have with their sales engineers or their leadership. There's going to be emails that have context. There's going to be different PowerPoints and Excel files. And so really there's no single source of truth. And with the advent of SaaS applications and most organizations having upward of 15 to 20 more or more applications, really individuals today are spending about 9.3 hours a week looking for work. are looking for information to do their work. 6.5 hours a week doing duplicate work that's already been done before, and now we're duplicating it because we couldn't find the original. And there's a ton of context switching. So even if we take that out of the equation, just the little amount of time it takes us to jump from application to application throughout our day chews up a ton of time. And so as we look at kind of the way people are solving this today, there's really kind of three different ways that organizations are going about solving this. On the far left, you have the applications that everyone is familiar, right? The chat GPTs of the world, the perplexities of the world, where hey, we have all of this general world knowledge and these super powerful large language models. We can do some web search, but when it comes to our internal data, you know, at worst, it's uploading one or two files at a time to get a summary of what's in that content. At best, you maybe get, one or two connectors hooked up, and some pretty sketchy search results. So that's one vertical area. The second one is going to be, hey, every SaaS vendor on the planet right now is coming out with their own flavor of artificial intelligence, right? So, if you look at the ones on here, we have, Jira and Confluence coming out with their own flavor. We have Slack AI, we have Salesforce AI, we have Gong, right? Every single vendor on the planet is going to have their own form of AI, but that doesn't eliminate the problem that I was originally talking through, where information lives in silos. For Glean, really the way we're viewing the world is, hey, we want to have the power of large language models. We want to have the ability to do web search and to crawl sites, but we also want to connect horizontally across all of your applications. So you do get that one single source of truth that you can go and search for information to start to contextualize that information and then to really help you move faster throughout your day. And what that looks like for us is we have a really cool product, or at least I think it's really cool. And we spend a ton of our time talking on information security. Probably 70 to 80% of our time is talking information security, but it's been baked into our platform from the very beginning. As I mentioned, our CEO and co-founder had co-founded Rubrik, and so it took a lot of those same principles and brought them over to Glean. But we connect to every single application that you have. We do it in a secure way, meaning that we're not only indexing the content and the metadata, but we're also indexing the end user permissioning. So what does that mean? If you don't have access to, say, a document that lives in SharePoint or in Drive, you'll never have access to that in Glean. And those search results or the content from that document will never even present itself in Glean. And then we keep those updated in real time or as close to near real time as possible. So if permissioning switches and changes in Jira or SharePoint, Glean will reflect that in near real time. The other core differentiator for us outside of search is going to be our concept of the knowledge graph. And really the way you can think about this is the connective tissue of your organization. So we understand, who your people are, who do they interact with, what are their roles and responsibilities, what content are they working on or creating, and then we look at the content side of things as well. So when was this document created? When was it last updated? And I'll show you this when we hop into the demo. But we use all of those different, over 50 different ranking and relevancy signals to make it a very tailored interaction to each individual. So, if I were to search for something and a software engineer were to search for the same keywords, there's a very real chance that we get different results based off who we are and the type of work that we do. And then the final piece is we're really an AI platform. So, out of the box, you get this incredible search and you get this incredible AI assistant in this knowledge graph. And that gets you 95, 98% of the way there in terms of becoming, AI enabled, but each organization is going to have different workflows and different ways of doing business, to where we provide a very simple option to go no code, low code and build, some AI apps, or you can expose the APIs and really geek out and make this as customized as you want. And so there is optionality, but it is a platform play where Glean provides that incredibly strong foundation, and then everyone is able to build on top of that. And so one more slide, and then we'll hop into the demo here. But just kind of to contextualize what this means, right? Is really Glean unlocks an AI assistant for everybody, regardless of their role, regardless of what they do in their day-to-day, right? Everybody from how do we help engineers get more code out, better code out, improve time to market? How can we help sales folks improve their interactions and drive more revenue? How can we help IT teams manage the business better? And so we'll walk through specific examples in all of these, but I'm going to pause quickly. Connor, is there anything you want to add to that, or is there any questions from the audience before we hop into the demo?
Nothing from my end. No, I think you covered it well, Sean.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, then we will jump right into it here. So this is Glean. As you saw, every time I open up a new window, we have a browser extension that works across all of the major browsers. The first thing you'll notice is that this looks and feels very much like Google. Partially to be expected based off where our founders were from, but also very much by design. We want to minimize any sort of change management, change fatigue. We all have, again, 20 to 30 or more SaaS applications that we interact with on a daily basis. You can get this tool today and know how to use it. Everybody knows how to Google something. The second call out is this is a signed in experience. So again, security is going to be baked into everything we do. And so it's a single sign on. It knows who I am. It knows what I have access to. But we'll just do a quick search to kind of show you guys what this looks like. So if I just do sales deck, you'll see here that this found 22,000 different results within our entire corpus. And this is our production environment. So these are all of the applications that we use on a daily basis. If you're a Microsoft shop, they're interchangeable. So change Drive to SharePoint, change Slack to Teams, right? It's going to function in the exact same way. The thing I wanted to call out here, right, is we talked about the knowledge graph and all of the ranking and relevancy signals. You can see here that this is our most up-to-date Glean sales deck, right? It was verified by product marketing. It has the green check here. You can see our older ones have been deprecated. So I still have the ability to go out and find those. But how often have you been searching for material and you have no idea if you're finding the latest, most up-to-date one, or if you're finding one that's 6 months old, a year old, if pieces have been changed? And so again, with this search functionality, you now have the ability to go out and quickly find the material that you're looking for. But most of the time, if I were to look at kind of my usage of Glean, and again, we use it all day, every day, I'm probably searching for a document maybe 5 to 10% of the time. The rest of the time, I am using it as that AI assistant to help me do better work more quickly, more efficiently, to give me back time in my day to focus on the things that really matter. And so we can hop into our chat, which is, again, where most of us probably spend the majority of our time in the Glean interface. So this is a real life example where and I'm sure everyone can relate. Someone's asking you for the latest update on project X, right? Or customer X, whatever the case may be. Again, we talk through, there's never a single source of truth. So for you as an individual, if you have to go, find all the content, synthesize it all, put it into a format, send an email to your manager or your customer on whatever the latest update on static or project X is, it's going to take a significant amount of time, right? On a minimum, probably 30 to 45 minutes. On the high side, probably a couple hours. So if I were to come in here, and I'll give you an example. So what's the latest update on our tools SDK? What this is going to do is it's going to do a similar type of search that we saw on the first page, right? So it's going to break this down. This is a step that we call retrieval augmented planning, where large language models are great. They need some context to be specific, and so we do a retrieval augmented planning phase where we tell the large language model what to go search for. And then we go and search through the entire corpus of information. So you can see here it found 22 different results across tools like Jira, Slack, different Salesforce opportunities, different call recordings, our website. So it's taking all of these various sources, it's distilling them down to say, hey, these right here on the bottom are the top 5 most relevant, most accurate results for what you're looking for. So we get this really great summary of exactly what the latest update is. It gives us citations, so we know that this is grounded in truth. There's really, kind of 3 answers when it comes to generative AI. There's the right answer, which we're always hoping we get. There's no answer, which is okay if it tells us there is no answer. And then there's a wrong answer, which is what everybody's hoping to avoid, is any sort of hallucination in these AI models. And so we put citations on all of the content to make sure that, hey, this is, if you need to go double check this answer, here's the source for you to immediately be able to hop in and verify where that information came from. And so you're now not spending, again, 30, 45 minutes or upwards trying to go through and find this information. And I could say, now please write me an email with this content. And so we can start to take actions on this as well. So it's no longer just, hey, I want to get a summary of this information. It's, hey, I want a summary and I want to be able to write an email for it. So it is still a large language model at the end of the day that's powering it. There will likely have to be some edits, right? More often than not, it's going to say, I hope this email finds you well, just like every AI email on the planet does. But you can now move from, hey, it took me 45 minutes to synthesize and find all of this information and put it into an email and send it, to I just did all of that in a minute with all of the content I need to go through and look and verify that this is accurate. And so, and again, it works that way across really every single persona, every single department. We're really focused on unstructured data. So, right, 90% of an organization's entire data corpus is going to be unstructured. We do have plans in the future to build partnerships. Databricks will be the first one where we're going to have the ability to interact with structured data, but really think of this through the lens of all of your unstructured data that lives across all of these various applications for everybody within your company. How can we make everybody move faster? We've also recently introduced this concept of prompts. And so when we look at organizations, there may be, 5 to 10% of employees that really have contextualized and understand how to make the most out of AI, right? How do I do prompt engineering and really start to break this down and take full advantage of these large language models where I'm not just asking one question, I'm asking a series of questions. And so our prompt library is where you can open this up to the people in your organization who do have a deep understanding of how to get the most out of AI. And they can come in here and they can create simple prompts, advanced prompts, where they can kind of define the steps that this large language model goes through. And then you can save that and facilitate it to the rest of the organization. So build it once, ship it many times. And to show you an example of what this looks like, we get a ton of security questionnaires, right? I told you we spend 70 to 80% of our time talking about InfoSec. With that, there's usually a vendor onboarding form that we have to go fill out that's going to have, oh, is there a question? So we'll have these vendor onboarding security questionnaires where, you know, it's 10 to 20 to 100 different questions that we need to fill out. What I've done here is created a very specific prompt for this large language model. So, you know, first go out and read this document in its entirety, get a sense of all of the questions that are being asked. Then I want you to go through and search through Glean's entire corpus of information, generate a response. You can give it response instructions to where, again, hey, make this ultra friendly, make this less than 50 words, right? All of the different variables that I'm sure people have explored with a chat GPT tool. So you can make it very, very constructive on how you want the response to be. And then you can, again, the more instructions that you give these large language models, the better they're going to be. And so, right, we break down some guidelines here in terms of, hey, here's how I want you to respond to this question. Do not hallucinate, right? If there is if there's a blank and we don't know the answer, just tell us you don't know the answer. And then you can just come in here, you can tag your article, and you can hit run. And so this is going to be, again, the more advanced usage of these large language model tools, to where first we have it go out and read the security assessment. I can hop in and show you what that looks like. Right. So this would be an example of, hey, we need you to answer these questions before we can have any further discussions. Again, if I think about the amount of time this would take me to do without Glean, it's multiple hours. Probably just finding the information, and then probably a few more hours going through, and multiple teams involved, right? It's no longer just an account executive, it's our InfoSec team, it's our solution engineering team, to get all of these questions answered. I can now come through here. Glean has gone through and done all of that hard work for me, right? It's given me citations to every single answer. It's given me URLs if requested, right, to go in and put this into the security questionnaire. So it's gone through and, again, taking something that normally would take me at least 4 hours to go through and do this, to where I've now been able to do this in 45 seconds. I can spend some time reviewing it. I can go through and have, you know, a peer review it, but we've now moved the needle to where I'm no longer just focusing on, you know, a relatively low value add task. I can now spend my time doing more things that actually matter to the business and drive more revenue. The final piece here that I'll walk through is our AI apps. So we talked about this really being a platform for you to build on top of. From an AI apps perspective, you could think of this as like, how do we either distill down the data? Maybe we don't want it to search across our entire corpus of data. Maybe we want to have information only coming from, you know, one application or even one document. So you can distill down the data sources, you can distill down the instructions, you can determine, how do I want actions involved with this? And I'll give you a couple of examples of what these look like in real life, but you can determine the actions. You can say, have different triggering mechanisms. So, if a question sounds like this, then open this application. So you're not necessarily having to find the app first and then jump into the app to use it. You can give it triggers to where it'll automatically know that an application, an AI app needs to be engaged and kick that off. And so what this looks like in real time is I can say, what's our PTO policy? So we built a Glean HR assistant to say, hey, when it's an HR related question, right? Something more sensitive in nature, we don't necessarily want to go to the open Slack channels or to old documentation. We want to make sure that we have a verified single source of truth, which is in our instance is our Glean employee handbook. So anytime that someone asks an HR question on our internal production instance of Glean, we will always kick off this Glean HR assistant. We built one that interacts with Jira as too, or interacts with Jira too. I broke my laptop and need a new one, to where you can have these different actions go through here. So, okay, hey, here's our standard form. Please open Jira. To where now I'm no longer having to, again, go through, traverse multiple different systems, first find out what I need to do if I break my laptop. You can ask all of these questions. It really is that true AI assistant for every single employee. And then we can look in here, right? It knows who I am. It knows where this ticket needs to be routed to. It knows what the priority is. And I can immediately click save. I'm not going to because it's production instance, but it'll kick off a ticket for us. And again, it's just about helping everybody move faster, do more throughout their day, do better work, leverage the power of these large language models to come up with creative solutions or strategies. And so, but at the same time, having all of that information grounded in your organization's truths. Connor, I need a drink of water. Anything you want to add here?
No, I think this is really good. I mean, the thing I would add too is like, we're here in our instance, but Glean, just to go back to one of the original points, has over 150 connectors that are native and out of the box, and many that our solutions architecture team will build. But we're tapping into the Microsofts, we're tapping into the ServiceNows of the world, to really all enterprise applications that are commonly used these days. So as we go through the demo, we're focused on a select number of data sets that we have internally. But I would encourage anyone on the call to go take a look, see the connectors. If you're using Microsoft Copilot as an example, or folks that are, a lot of Microsoft users are kind of taking a crawl, walk, run approach, starting with Copilot and then coming to Glean so that they can get a more comprehensive experience, not only across Microsoft, but into their other systems. But I think that was really well done, Sean. I don't have too much more to add other than that. And I'm happy to walk through some of the implementation and success, unless folks in the call want to have maybe a time slot here to ask any questions on the product that Sean just went into. I'll pause, and maybe if anyone wants to come off mute, ask questions, throw in some comments, and shoot, even if you're using AI, we'd love to hear about any wins that you've been experiencing in your own work life and how it might relate to this. No wins? Come on.
Just means they need Glean.
All good. All good.
Yeah. The one thing I will call out here too, because I didn't highlight this, is we talked about really building out the people data as well. So it's oftentimes, right, one, it's hard to find the documentation. Sometimes impossible to find the documentation you're looking for to do your job. So then the struggle becomes, well, who do I need to go ask about this? It's not as big of a challenge in smaller organizations, right? If it's Joe, the jack of all trades, everybody knows Joe, and we'll go ask Joe how to do it. But that means Joe's constantly getting interrupted. In larger organizations, it does become super difficult to figure out who is the subject matter expert on a specific topic. And so, we did our search at the beginning where we're asking for the latest update on our tools SDK. When we look at the actual search that it did, it's also going to build out, hey, who are the individuals within the organization that produce the most content on this, that interact with the content, that share it, that talk about it. So then we can get a really good view into who the subject matter experts are for any topic within our organization. And so, right, I can come in here, I can see that Immerjan absolutely is the SME internally at Glean when it comes to our tools SDK. He's our head of product, but we can also start to get a sense of who are all the other individuals within the organization. What content have they produced on this specific topic? And that way, if we do have questions or do need to dig deeper, we know exactly who to go reach out to have those conversations. But Connor, I will pass it over to you.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, everyone. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about, I'm going to start off with a little bit around AI adoption that we've seen so far, and then how Glean manages the actual onboarding and the implementation of these accounts. And so it'll be pretty high level, and we can go into more details with anyone that has more interest. But let me go ahead and get into it. Sean, you can see my screen, yeah?
Yep.
All right, great. Well, so I'm going to start off with some of the challenge here on some of the AI tools in the marketplace. And the reality is we talk to a lot of senior level executives who are basically asking the question of, how do I unlock not only productivity, but efficiency for my organization? One of the biggest costs that a company has is just their people, right? And so how do we do more with less, or how do we do more with more? And how do we really unlock the talent and skills that we know our employee base has? A lot of this conversation too is related to what Sean was just talking about, is how do we get our A players, our A plus players who are moving the needle on the biggest strategic projects at the company to focus more on moving the needle there and less on trying to upskill, our B players. And AI comes into that play as well, because, with Glean, where you can search and find anything that you need, you essentially have the artifacts and the knowledge of your A players at the fingertips of every single person in the organization. So whether you're doing a general query or building an app to upskill an engineer or upscale a salesperson, the ability to ramp, onboard, and then continue to develop as an employee is massively unhinged with a tool like Glean. So in the market, just generally speaking on this slide is, the very first step in even bringing AI into any company is really to educate and enable the employees, is what we've seen. At the end of the day, Glean is a tool where we can put it in front of users, and on day one, they're getting value and they're enabled with AI. And so most of the companies that we speak with are sort of in these two first categories. They're either just totally unaware to what AI is. They've obviously heard about it most likely, but they don't really understand how it could impact them, what tools are out there. In some cases, they might even be fearful of it. They may not want to have anything to do with it. They may think that it's going to replace their actual job function. And then what we see more of is folks who are more like AI curious, right? So they're doing Chat GPT at home. They're using it for novelty. They're kind of playing around with it, and then they start to use it at work. And they may not be using it at work even with the rights to use it at work. It might be a shadow IT where they have Chat GPT running on the side, drafting emails for them, or doing something more advanced. As the user starts to get more embedded into these, they really start to lean on it for like really bespoke tasks that they know AI can do very, very well. So similar to the prompts that Sean was showing, but they may figure out, as an example, that ChatGPT does a great job of creating an email, or I have Copilot and I know it can summarize my Teams meeting or something like that. And they start using it for very specific tasks. But as it goes on, and I won't go through everything, we start to see folks who go through this journey to become like evangelists, to where they start to ideate around all of the different workflows that are in their processes that they could actually enable and ultimately unlock productivity and become an even better employee than they already are. And so as it relates to the actual companies itself, right? If you have folks who are using, ChatGPT on the side, it's not authorized by the company. We all know the problems there. But what we see a lot of is companies that don't have anything right now as it relates to AI, or they might be experimenting with a few tools. And most commonly, that's because there's a security concern, and there's also adoption and enablement concerns, right? So it's, how do I secure my data and make sure that the LLMs aren't training on it, or make sure that my data is not getting out to somewhere else, which Sean touched on really nicely. And then also like, if we do roll something out, how do I know if folks are actually going to use this, right? If we spend the money on AI, we go through this whole change management process, are people actually going to be using it? And so Glean has good answers for that. And what we see is our customers start to actually sponsor AI initiatives for various tailored purposes, whether it's on the engineering floor, on the sales side, whether it's in insurance and manufacturing and financial services. They start to really find really bespoke ways to use AI and develop champions who can actually proliferate and propagate more ideas through the organization. And ultimately, they start to build out. They start to do a full build out of AI, right? So now I have some users who are using it on a basic level. Now I've actually come up with like real business initiatives that have actually seen value, and I have champions. And now I'm trying to platform this and actually find every nook and cranny in the business to where I can insert AI to not necessarily replace a job, but to augment the productivity of the employees. And at Glean, this was actually a third-party like analysis that went on through some of our investors actually. But when they looked at weekly active users and they compared Glean's usage on an employee by employee basis across not only other generative AI apps, which you can see here on the left, you can see the likes of ChatGPT, Anthropic, Gemini, Copilot, but they also compared it to other enterprise applications like email, like Outlook, like Teams. And then they also compared it to actual consumer apps like Reddit, Google Chrome, Spotify, et cetera. And they saw that because of the nature of the ease of use and like the ability to move quickly and start leveraging AI just immediately without a lot of configuration and know-how, Glean was able to rival even some of the consumer applications out there. And we see that of our companies that use Glean, 75% of the employees are using Glean 5 days a week. They're using it regularly in their job, and 75% of the employees are seeing adoption across the entire platform. The last slide I'll show is just a kind of highlight, and I'll maybe more talk to this, but getting Glean off the ground and running for your employees is incredibly easy and has incredible fast time to value. So with Glean, you select the connectors you want to use. You select whether you want to host the tenant that we deploy in, or you want us to host it. We then go through and we set up the connectors, which takes about 20 minutes per connector. We then index the data. I like to call it the marination period. So we marinate for about 2 weeks so that we have a full understanding of not only the information, but the relationship of the information to your employees. So Sean talked a lot about that through the demonstration. After that 2-week period, you're off to the races. So you can start immediately searching for knowledge, building applications with knowledge, finding pockets of the organization where you can start deploying artificial intelligence, and you can get going very quickly. The reason I think that this is a worthwhile thing to mention is that so many of companies that we worked with, our customers' experience before Glean has been that they can get some kind of AI solution into the workplace in a sort of a proof of concept mode to where it might work okay for a specific niche use case, but it's very hard to then take that use case and then expand it enterprise wide. And with Glean, after 2 weeks of connecting data, indexing data, and building the essential data platform, you can start taking your employees and moving them directly into the development of use cases, and then ultimately enabling them and unlocking their productivity. Get those A players to go focus on the strategic tasks at hand, get the B and C players to upskill, and really unlock the power of AI with Glean. That's all I have as far as presentation goes. I know we've got about 15, 14 minutes left. So be happy to open it up to Q&A, whether that's in the chat. Looks like maybe there are some chats. I'm not sure here. Or if anyone wants to come off the mic. Oh, Sean did. Cool.
Yeah, I just shared the connectors. Yeah, I know we threw a ton of information at you. The prescriptive team will go ahead and share this out after. And so if you guys do want to chew on this for a little bit, if you have additional questions that you would like to ask in more of a one-on-one type setting, prescriptive can set that up and get time on our calendars. And so we absolutely want to be resources to you all, help in whatever way possible, even if it is just kind of a deeper dive into the AI landscape and what that looks like and how other organizations are addressing this. So just let us know what we can do to help. And if there are no questions, happy to give everybody 13 minutes back in their day to go get a drink of water before they inevitably hop into the next call.
I really appreciate that, Sean. Justin, I see your mic's open. Do you have a question?
I was just going to toss out a question out there, something I think we might have asked early on, but y'all, well, first off, I probably need Glean to help me use mute on my phone, but so the one of the bigger use cases in the team's Copilot is the AI notes, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I think you guys mentioned you were working on that. I didn't know if that was something you could talk to on this episode or.
Yeah, you're talking just about the team's transcription?
Yeah, the transcription and AI note capability that it's providing.
Yeah. So we will have. I'm actually not sure, Connor, if I know it's in the works. I don't know if we've rolled it out as a beta, but we will have full functionality. So everything that Copilot can do from a team's perspective, Glean will also be able to do in terms of the transcripts and meeting summarization and everything like that.
Yeah, I was relatively close to that project, and I know we have customers who are doing that now with Glean.
Okay, awesome.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I think if nobody else has any questions, I think that might be it. Awesome. Sean and Connor, I really appreciate you guys taking your time to record this with us and be here with us. Yeah. Michael, I see you're off mute. Do you have a question before we wrap it up?
Are you going to post this so we can review it again as off of your website?
Yes, sir. Yep. We'll have it on our website shortly, and then we'll also probably send it out shortly after this as well.
Great.
Link. Yep.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for being here, and I'll go ahead and close this out in the next few seconds.
Thank you all. We appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.